The dawn of the 1960 seconds. America was a nation defined by optimism, its eyes fixed on the stars, but its feet firmly planted in the traditions of the past. This paradox was most visible on our highways. The automotive landscape was an ocean of steel, a parade of chrome and convention. But then, in 1962, something truly alien landed. A strange, silent form that seemed to have slipped through a wrinkle in time. It was smooth, sensual, and utterly defiant. Shaped not in a Detroit boardroom, but in the crucible of futuristic dreams. It seemed less a car and more a vessel from a distant, more advanced civilization. This was the Studebaker Avanti. Born in the despair of a dying brand, the Avanti was a bolt of pure audacity. And yet, that is why today, decades later, the Avanti is revered as one of the most prophetic and courageous automotive designs of all time. It was the fearless, indomitable spirit of the 1960 seconds, molded in fiberglass and steel, a car built not to appease the masses, but to challenge the very definition of the future. Are you ready to discover the story of the car that arrived too soon? On the brink of oblivion, the state of Studebaker. To understand the miracle of the Avanti, one must first understand the darkness from which it emerged. In the early 1960 seconds, Studebaker was a giant on its knees. As one of America's most storied manufacturers, with roots dating back to the horse-drawn carriage era, the company had already been a benchmark for rugged, reliable vehicles. But the post-war boom, which elevated its rivals to unprecedented heights, became a storm that Studebaker could no longer weather. The Big Three, Ford, General Motors, and Chrysler, mastered the art of scale, style, and relentless innovation. Studebaker, in sharp contrast, was stuck in a downward spiral. Its models, once praised for their ruggedness, now seemed antiquated. Its factories were inefficient relics of a bygone era, and production costs were exorbitant. The company was a disorganized and sentimental behemoth, and Wall Street analysts were already writing its obituary, predicting its complete collapse within a few years. It was in this climate of despair that a new leader emerged in 1961. His name was Sherwood Egbert, and he was far from a traditional automotive executive. Egbert was not a car guy. His background was in heavy equipment, marketing, and aggressive business strategy. He was an outsider, free from the sacred cows and conservative thinking of the industry. This fresh perspective was exactly what Studebaker needed. Egbert surveyed the wreckage of the company and came to a startling conclusion. Another practical sedan or a rugged pickup truck would be a death sentence. Playing it safe was no longer an option. He believed the only thing that could save Studebaker was a shock to the system, a halo car so radical, so stunningly beautiful, and so undeniably modern that it would single-handedly revitalize the brand's image. He envisioned a magnificent touring car, a machine that could capture the imagination not just of car buyers, but of the entire country. From this audacious vision, the seed of the Avanti was planted. Project X, the California Skunk Works. Sherwood Egbert knew he couldn't create a revolution within the crumbling walls of Studebaker's corporate structure. To forge a car of the future, he needed a team that could operate outside the system. He turned to a living legend, Raymond Loewy, the visionary industrial designer whose genius influenced everything from the iconic Coca-Cola bottle to streamlined locomotives and, indeed, many of Studebaker's most successful past models. Loewy, embracing the urgency of the mission, assembled a small, elite team of brilliant young designers, Tom Kellogg, John Epstein, and Bob Andrews. Epstein then made a crucial decision. He exiled them from the bleak, oppressive environment of the South Bend factory and sent them to a secluded mid-century modern villa in the sun-drenched landscape of Palm Springs, California. There, surrounded by desert air and architectural freedom, they freed themselves from corporate oversight, committee meetings, and the crushing weight of Studebaker's impending doom. Their directive was simple: design a masterpiece and execute it at impossible speed. For 40 intense days and nights, this small team dedicated themselves to brainstorming. Fueled by creative adrenaline, they channeled the era's obsession with the space race and jet-age technology. In less than 6 weeks, they emerged from their desert sanctuary with a design that was nothing short of breathtaking. It was a complete departure from American automotive dogma. The Studebaker Avanti, a design that broke the mold. Looking at the clay model of the Avanti, you would never guess it was an American car. It was an exercise in sublime minimalism and aerodynamic purity. The most shocking feature was what was missing: a traditional front grille. In its place was a smooth, shark-like nose with an asymmetrical power bulge on the hood, suggesting formidable power lurking beneath. The body was a symphony of curves, a Coke bottle shape with pinched waistlines and swelling fenders that was years ahead of its time. The windshield was steeply raked, more like a fighter jet's canopy than a car's windscreen. The rear featured a short, tapered tail and razor-thin taillights, reinforcing its jet-like aesthetic. To achieve these complex fluid shapes and to expedite development, Loewy's team made a revolutionary choice. The body would be crafted not from steel, but from molded fiberglass. This allowed for a level of design freedom that was simply impossible with conventional metal stamping. The innovation didn't stop with the exterior. Inside, the Avanti was a futuristic cockpit designed for the serious driver. The cabin was a radical departure from the plush, bench-seated living rooms of its competitors. It featured a driver-centric curved dashboard with a full suite of aircraft-inspired gauges, all angled for perfect visibility. Deep, supportive bucket seats cradled the occupants. Overhead, aircraft-style toggle switches controlled the lighting and ventilation. The entire space was trimmed in machined aluminum, exuding a sense of modern, performance-oriented luxury that was virtually unheard of in an American car of that era. When Sherwood Egbert flew to California to see the final prototype, he was stunned. He walked around the car, taking in its revolutionary form, and without a moment's hesitation, he approved it for production on the spot. There were no demands for major revisions, no second-guessing. Time was a luxury Studebaker did not have. The gamble was on. American muscle with a European soul, the heart of the beast. A revolutionary design, however, was only half the equation. To fulfill its destiny as a true grand tourer, the Avanti needed a powertrain that could match its futuristic looks. With no time or budget to develop a new engine from scratch, Studebaker's engineers, led by the legendary Andy Granatelli, turned to the company's venerable 289 cubic-inch V8. But this would be no mere tune-up, it was a radical transformation. The engineering team completely reworked the engine, upgrading the air intake, camshaft, pistons, and carburetors to create a hierarchy of performance. The standard version, dubbed the R1, was a potent performer in its own right. But the true fireworks began with the next level, the Avanti R2. This beast was equipped with a belt-driven Paxton supercharger, which force-fed air into the engine, boosting horsepower to a thrilling 290. For the truly power-obsessed, there was the ultra-rare, almost mythical Avanti R3. These were not standard production engines. Each R3 was hand-built in Granatelli's high-performance division with special cast components, a high-lift camshaft, and a larger supercharger. The R3 produced a staggering 335 horsepower, a figure that placed it in the realm of exotic European sports cars. The result of this engineering prowess was a coupe that blended European handling finesse with raw American muscle. The Avanti was ferociously quick off the line, capable of effortless high-speed cruising, and responded to throttle inputs with an immediacy that shocked drivers accustomed to the numb, floating ride of other American cars. But perhaps the most forward-thinking mechanical feature was its brakes. In an era when most American cars relied on woefully inadequate drum brakes, the Avanti came standard with powerful front disc brakes, developed in partnership with Bendix. This was a feature found almost exclusively on expensive European race cars. It gave the Avanti stopping power that was as impressive as its acceleration. With this combination of power, handling, and braking, Studebaker felt confident in making a very bold claim. The Avanti was the fastest production car in America, and they were about to prove it. The Bonneville Assault, forging a legend in salt. With a car this revolutionary, a traditional marketing campaign would never suffice. Studebaker chose to present the Avanti not merely as a new car, but as a symbol of America's future. They were selling a daring new vision of performance and style. The Avanti graced the covers of high-fashion magazines alongside top models. It was showcased in prestigious design exhibitions, and it was photographed with Hollywood celebrities. But the masterstroke of the campaign was a full-scale assault on the Bonneville salt flats. Studebaker took a supercharged R3 Avanti to the vast white expanse of the Utah desert with one goal: to shatter speed records and cement the car's high-performance credentials in the public consciousness. The images that emerged from Bonneville were electrifying. The sleek crimson coupe, screaming across the stark white landscape under the immense desert sky, became an icon of speed and power. The Avanti set an astonishing 29 new national speed records, solidifying its claim as America's fastest production car. The media went into a frenzy. Dealers were inundated with thousands of orders from eager customers desperate to own a piece of the future. For a fleeting moment, it seemed Sherwood Egbert's impossible gamble had paid off. The Avanti was a sensation. A dream derailed, the production nightmare. But just as the Avanti reached the zenith of its fame, the cracks within the crumbling Studebaker empire began to show. The very thing that gave the Avanti its revolutionary shape, its fiberglass body, became its Achilles heel. While the material reduced development time, Studebaker had severely underestimated the complexities of mass-producing it. The body panels, produced by an external supplier, were notoriously inconsistent in their fit and finish. On the South Bend assembly line, workers struggled to make them fit the chassis. Panels had to be manually ground down, filled, and shimmed. Doors refused to align properly. Windshields were often misfitted, leading to frustrating leaks, and the paint finish was often subpar. Each Avanti that rolled off the line felt less like a polished factory product and more like a temperamental, hand-built prototype. The production line, designed for steel cars, became a chaotic bottleneck. Instead of churning out thousands of cars per month to meet the overwhelming demand, Studebaker managed to ship only around 1,200 Avantis in the first year. The initial excitement of customers soured into frustration and disappointment as they faced endless delays. The glowing headlines were replaced with whispers and then outright criticism of the car's abysmal build quality. The Avanti, the shining symbol of Studebaker's future, was ironically becoming a glaring testament to its fundamental inability to manufacture a modern car. The fall of an empire, the end of an era. The production disaster was a wound from which Studebaker could not recover. The financial losses mounted, and by the end of 1963, the company was forced to make a devastating decision. It would shut down its main production facility in South Bend, Indiana, the heart of its operations for over a century. This decision was the death knell for the Avanti. Production ceased after only about 4,600 units had been built, a tiny fraction of what had been projected. In a final, sad chapter, many of the last cars were hastily assembled to clear out remaining inventory. The symbol of reinvention was unceremoniously abandoned after just one full year on the market. The closure eroded the last vestiges of trust among dealers and loyal customers. Studebaker limped on for a few more years, building smaller cars in its Canadian plant, but its fate was sealed. In 1966, the once proud automaker officially ended all car production forever. A phoenix from the ashes, the Avanti II. But a design this powerful, this captivating, refused to die. In a remarkable epilogue, the Avanti's story was just beginning a new chapter. The saviors were two brothers, Nate and Arnold Altman, who owned a large Studebaker dealership in South Bend. They had witnessed the Avanti's birth and its tragic demise, and they believed passionately that this extraordinary car deserved a second chance. In an act of incredible business audacity, shortly after the factory closed, the Altman brothers acquired the design rights, the original fiberglass body molds, spare parts, and a section of the old assembly plant. They founded the Avanti Motor Corporation with a singular mission: to continue building the Avanti. Their new creation was named the Avanti II. Recognizing the flaws of the original, they made a critical change. They replaced the Studebaker drivetrain with a reliable and powerful 327 cubic inch V8 engine and an automatic transmission sourced from Chevrolet. The body design, the interior layout, and the rebellious spirit, however, remained utterly faithful to Loewy's original vision. The Avanti II was a different proposition. No longer a mass-produced car, each one was meticulously hand-built to a customer's exact specifications. It was transformed into a bespoke, upscale grand tourer for discerning buyers who craved a unique, personalized American car. Against all odds, the Avanti 2 quietly endured for decades, changing ownership several times, receiving updated engines and modern refinements, but never losing its unmistakable identity. The Avanti had outlived its creator, becoming a timeless symbol of pure automotive passion. The enduring enigma, a car trapped in time. So why did a car with a pioneering design, blistering performance, and such a dramatic history fail to achieve mainstream success? The answer is a complex tragedy of circumstance. The Avanti was the right car at the wrong time, born from the wrong company. Its futuristic design was simply too much, too soon for the conservative tastes of the early 1962s. But the larger issue was the name on the hood. American consumers trusted the Titans, Ford, Chevrolet, Chrysler. They were wary of Studebaker, a brand they knew was in financial turmoil, closing factories, and laying off workers. No matter how beautiful or fast the Avanti was, the wavering confidence in the company that built it kept many potential buyers away. Studebaker also lacked the resources to overcome the initial production hurdles. A corporate giant like GM could have absorbed the costs and solved the engineering problems. For Studebaker, it was a fatal blow. The Avanti was a brilliant idea trapped by the operational limitations of its parent. The cult of Avanti, a legacy of individuality. Today, the Avanti occupies a unique and revered place in the classic car world. It doesn't have the massive mainstream following of a Mustang or a Camaro. Instead, it attracts a different kind of enthusiast, the individualist, the design aficionado, the person who celebrates defiance and innovation. Owning an Avanti is a statement. It's for those who are drawn to a car that tells a profound story. Dedicated groups like the Avanti Owners Association International are thriving communities that provide technical support, organize meetups, and preserve the car's legacy. Original 1963 Avantis, especially the supercharged R2 and the mythical R3 versions, are now highly prized by collectors for their historical significance and rarity. On forums and at car shows, the Avanti is consistently rediscovered as a forgotten gem, a design that still looks daring and futuristic, even by today's standards. It never belonged to the age of mass appeal. It belongs to those who have always chosen to walk their own path. A final question. The story of the Avanti leaves us with a tantalizing question. Could a car that once failed become a legend if it were born in a different time? We live in an era where the auto industry is desperately searching for vehicles with character and a unique identity. A boutique grand tourer blending classic design with modern performance could command a loyal, passionate following today. Imagine an Avanti reborn with a silent, ferociously powerful electric powertrain, its rebellious spirit and unmistakable character preserved. The Avanti was never a perfect car. It wasn't a sales champion. It didn't win Le Mans. And it never became a movie star. But that is precisely what makes it so special. It is a monument to courage, the courage of a small automaker daring to challenge the giants, the courage of engineers who dared to think differently, and the courage of the few buyers who chose the unfamiliar. The Avanti was never built to please the crowd. It was built to capture the hearts of those who truly understand and value innovation. So, if you've ever found yourself drawn to the things in life that go against the grain, the beautiful misfits, and the bold underdogs, take a second look at the Studebaker Avanti. In its sleek, timeless lines, you might just see a reflection of yourself. The Avanti's story is one of incredible highs and tragic lows, and it's a testament to the passion that drives the automotive world. But now, we want to hear from you. Have you ever owned a Studebaker Avanti, or perhaps an Avanti 2? Do you have a story about one of these incredible cars? Or maybe there's another car you believe was truly ahead of its time, but forgotten by history. Share your stories in the comments below. Your experiences are what make this community so special. If you enjoyed this journey into automotive history, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel for more stories about the cars that dare to be different. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you on the next one.